me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Let's go. I'm about to go off like a weapon. Fuel to the top, gotta feel the vengeance. In my thoughts.
Today we're going to be going over Cam Smith, and I think a lot of people were surprised when the Dolphins took Cam Smith with their second overall pick. We all thought we were going for offensive tackle. We're not going to discuss that in this video. What we're going to discuss is the reasons why Cam Smith was picked. And I think there are some underlying reasons that I think we really have to be excited for. You know, with Cam Smith, the pick there, I do really strongly believe that it was a good pick. I think what we went for right there was the best overall pick, the best player out of that point in time in the draft. And I think even though people had their mind dead set on offensive linemen and other things, I think cornerback is still a big need on this team. You know, when we get into cornerbacks on our team right now, basically you have Xavier Howard, Jalen Ramsey, you know, Kader Kohou. And again, it took me a while to wrap my head around why they did this, but you have to kind of figure Xavier Howard is getting much more up there in age. And the skill level is, I mean, if we could be honest, he has to showcase something. You know, it's not like we're going into the season thinking he's just going to be the Xavier Howard of old. Xavier Howard lost a step last season. And it's great that he says he's going to come back stronger, but there have been plenty of players that said they were going to come back stronger, but after injuries and age catch up to you, it's just tough. You know, honestly, one of my favorite players of all time, Cam Newton, said the same thing, but he just couldn't do the same things he could do when he was younger because the age and the injuries caught up to him. So with this pick, Jalen Ramsey is also up there in age. Xavier Howard is up there in age. So you basically have a bunch of undrafted rookies behind them. So when you look at this, Xavier Howard's contract is very big. It's a huge contract. And regardless, if he plays well this year or doesn't play well this year, you know, you have to make a decision on the next year because the contract is for a player that is elite. And if he doesn't play elite, then you're not getting your payment on the end of the process. So with Cam Smith, what you're getting is you're getting a 6'1", 198-pound, lengthy, very lengthy cornerback. And when they were looking at him in the draft, a lot of people were saying that he was going to go first round, and he fell to the Dolphins at the second round pick. Now, there are a lot of traits on Cam Smith that make him very, very good as a corner. And honestly, having Vic Fangio as the defensive coordinator is going to make him very, very good. So, number one, you have a guy that is very fast as a cornerback. The guy is very fast, and he's very instinctual. So when you look at Cam Smith, a lot of his plays are based upon instincts and him moving in the way that he feels is good to guard the defender, which is something that a lot of players, like for instance, Noah coming out of the draft, he didn't have those instinctual traits. He was very much so a project, and you know, honestly, we should have taken Noah in the same round that we took Cam Smith, except what you're getting with Cam Smith is a very good potential lockdown corner. You know, a lot of players coming out in the draft can't really say that. You know, like with Keely Ringo and other players, they weren't necessarily lockdown corners. They were just physical corners. You know, with Cam Smith, he's going to be a very speedy cornerback that plays outside coverage, not a slot. And that is something that we need. So the best thing that we can get is that he was the best player available at that time, or to the Dolphins, and what we could have taken. He was a first-round talent that fell in the second round because there were so many cornerbacks in this draft, and nobody was taking them in the first round. So he can get a little bit bigger, which again, a lot of our players, what we're looking at is they're developing in their first year, which is exactly what a rookie is supposed to do. He's going to get bigger, and Vic Fangio is going to teach him a style of defense where he can transition. This was definitely a Vic Fangio pick because he is good in zone coverage. He's good in man coverage. He can play everything. He's a very able to be used corner and can play his zone coverage very well. So he's going to be that starter after the Xavier Howard event is ended. You know, Xavier Howard, I hope he stays with us forever, but it's just a mere fact of when you have a player that you're paying that much money, you can't play the way that you did last year no matter what. We paid him to be a lockdown number one corner, and he could not do that last year. And with injuries and all that catching up, now you have Cam Smith that can learn under two of the best corners to ever play the game. And he can be groomed by one of the best, if not the best, defensive coordinator. And you can make this guy the future star on this defense with Cater, with Nick, or whoever else that you draft in the future. Number two, we're going to go right into the reason why this is a pick of the future is that, again, you are getting a rookie contract, rookie salary. When you have Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey, you have to consider, especially with Xavier Howard, that you can take off a significant amount of the cap with Xavier Howard on there because he takes up a lot. And the thing is that when you do that and you have a guy that can fill in his shoes, well, you can still groom him as the number two corner behind Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey takes that spot. And then, again, you see what Xavier Howard wants to do. I totally understand that you want to make the most money. So he probably can make some more money elsewhere. And with him, you take away the contract, I think, eventually, of Xavier Howard, where you can now have a rookie contract, you have more salary cap, and you can sign and do more things in free agency. I really do believe that the way Chris Grier thinks is he's continually thinking of the next year, what he can do to get the team better next year. He's not thinking, all right now we need to do everything that's possible to make this team like the Rams, because again, the Rams have no clue their identity. They don't know where they're going. They don't have a head coach. They don't know what to do right now, or they do have a head coach, but they don't know what to do. They don't know where to go. They don't know what they're seeking. They don't know what their team's identity is. When you draft these types of players, you are drafting to get future possibilities and to get your team better for the future and for now, which is, like I said, you want to do what the Philadelphia Eagles did, where they are setting themselves up for the future and for right now. So they're not going to be a team that is, 3 years and they're garbage again, which has happened to a lot of teams where they're good and then 3 years and they're garbage. They are setting their team up so that they continually get picks, they continually can move around in the first round, and they continue to get the best ultimate player. Like I said, with Cam Smith, you got a first-round corner in the second round, which a lot of the other players now, when I'm looking at them, Osiris Torrance, even John Michael Schmitz, these are project players that could possibly not turn out to be exactly what you want them to be. Obviously, we've struggled drafting offensive linemen. So instead of that, get somebody in the free agency, and let's get a guy that actually can be an impact player. And I think that's what we were doing with this draft, is getting all the players that can be just impact players right off the bat. They can just impact the game as well as you possibly can and grow for the future. So Cam Smith is going to give us that rookie salary contract where you build for the future. The third thing, which makes me really excited, is this was obviously a Vic Fangio pick. Obviously, Vic Fangio wanted Cam Smith. Mike McDaniel got his pick in Devin Achane, and Vic Fangio, he got his pick in Cam Smith. And why I get excited about this is usually when you get a defensive coordinator and they are a good defensive coordinator, eventually you feel like they're going to end up moving on. Well, what this looks like is that we have really two head coaches. We have a head coach on offense, we have a head coach on defense that bounce off of each other. And it's pretty incredible to see what they're doing, where the draft was basically split, into halves, where obviously the end, you got the fill-in players, but the first two picks one was for Vic Fangio and the other one was for Mike McDaniel. And it's just cool to see that we are going to have Vic Fangio for a while. So we're going to have a very good defense and a very good offense. And it's, again, something that we've never seen, where I think we have to really thank Stephen Ross, because he shelled out a lot of money to get Vic Fangio over here. And now you're doing something that you've never really done as a Dolphin organization, where you are paying money for excellent coaches, and you found your offensive coach. Now you got your defensive coach, and you're paying them a lot of money so that they're not going to go anywhere. They want to stay here and build a dynasty, not a 2-year thing. They want to build a dynasty where now Vic Fangio gets his players, Mike McDaniel gets his players, and you end up superseding each side of the football. And you then go into the seasons knowing that we want to build something special here. We're not just doing this for a couple years and seeing if it works. We are building something for the next, hopefully, 5 to 10 years. And it's going to be pretty crazy to watch this thing grow. So when you get a player like Cam Smith, it just shows that Vic Fangio is now putting his input on the team. And like I've said, we have two head coaches, one on defense and one on offense, which is pretty scary for most teams because we have two of the best minds on each side. I don't think people realize that. Most of the coaches in the league, the good ones, they are good on one side of the ball and pretty decent on the other. Well, these two are excellent at both their sides, and they both are on their respective sides of the ball. And it's a lot less delegating for Mike McDaniel, and it's a lot more learning for each of them from each other to make each other better, to make better defenses, to make better offensive schemes. And like I said, getting Cam Smith shows that we're going to have Vic Fangio for a really long time. And we finally figured out as a franchise that we needed to get both sides of the ball. We couldn't keep doing these coaches that were trying to get one side and not the other side, one side and not the other. We had an offense, no defense, defense, no offense. And it's just we kept doing that. And we had stubborn, hard-headed coaches that didn't allow us to get all the best coaching staff that we could because they were afraid to be undermined, where now you have a whole organization working as one unit to get to where we need to go. Cam Smith was an excellent pick. He is going to be the star of our defense for the next season. And we can probably look at this draft maybe later on and saying that we got two stud players in this draft. And really, out of this draft, what we did was we ended up getting two stud players and also trading for two superstars in the league. So this was actually a really good draft. And Cam Smith is going to showcase. He is a coverage lockdown corner. Cam Smith is going to be a lockdown corner. And once he learns the traits behind the two best corners in the league, in Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey, you're going to have a guy for a very long time that probably will just take the place of Xavier Howard and just be the next Xavier Howard. Now, he might not get as many interceptions, but he's going to be a lockdown corner, which, to be honest, Xavier Howard was very instinctual, but lockdown, he wasn't the best at locking down people. He missed a lot of things. Maybe it had to do with the defensive scheme, but, I think we are getting our lockdown corner where you don't necessarily need interceptions. You need this guy what he can do is he can intercept the ball, but he is mostly going to lock down receivers on the other side. And that is an excellent pick to have in the second round, where he was supposed to be, in the first round. There was a lot of players, but he was definitely a first round talent that fell to us in the second round. You're getting an impact player right off the bat. He's going to play. He is going to play this season, and he's just going to learn behind the guys and become a stud corner that we have for the next 6, 7, 8 years, So it's exciting. Let me know what you think about it. Hit a like. Hit a subscribe. Do what you need to do. And as always, hope you have a great rest of your day. Fins up. Peace.